Hi friend, I just wanted to take a minute to invite you to our Lash Biz Babes Experience 2026. This is a one-day all online event happening on May 2nd, and our theme for the year is going all in. We are shaking things up and doing it differently than anyone ever has before. This is going to be an all online event as usual, but it's going to be 100% a curated journey throughout your day as we guide you through the mindset, strategy, and passion needed to go all in on your business to make it your best year in business yet. All lash artists, estheticians, and beauty professionals are invited to join us. There will be guided sessions, interactive workshops, a panel discussion, and big giveaways happening throughout that whole day. And tickets are on sale now for only $199. Payment plans are available. Let's go all in on our businesses for 2026 together. All the details and the link for tickets are down in the show notes below. I would love to have you join us online in May. Welcome to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach and lash educator. And this week, we're going to be talking about being a mom and a beauty business owner. I absolutely get so mind blown at the fact that there are so many moms in the lash and beauty industries and so many soon to be moms and those who want to be moms. And yet there is so very little support for those who are moms and a beauty business owner. And it just does not get talked about enough, absolutely at all. And so that was one of my goals with Lash Biz Babes, with creating this podcast last year, was to talk about mom life and beauty business owner life more. And, I feel like I have done that so far with the podcast. I've had a couple episodes about, mom, beauty business owner stuff. And if a guest is a mom, I do try and ask them about their experience with that and get you guys advice from them and things like that. But I am really deciding to anchor into this a bit more and shift into it a bit more with not just the podcast, but just my business in general, to be able to support moms in beauty business, to be able to grow and be a present mom, because I feel so very strongly about that. And just, it's absolutely something that is very near and dear to my heart. Obviously I have 3 kids and they are just like the absolute center of my world. Everything I do revolves around them. So of course it's something that is just very important to me. And I know that many of you are probably the same in that way, where being a mom is something that is very important to you. Your kids are very important to you. And that is something that motivates you to grow your business, because it's going to create a life for yourself and them and for your family that you might not otherwise be able to live, in the fact of, it has different perks and benefits of a 9-to-5. Like, obviously there's pros and cons to both when it comes to mom life, but honestly, truly, I believe there is nothing else like the beauty business and being a mom, because you just absolutely have endless possibilities with it. But along with that, it does come with a lot of struggles, and we have a lot of responsibilities on our plates as moms in general. And then you add running your own business on top of that, and it's just like, holy crap, there's so much to do. There's so much to manage. And it's like, how do we do it all? And I personally believe that you can have it all. It doesn't have to be either or. It's an and situation. You can have a successful, thriving beauty business and be a present mom. I full-heartedly believe that, but it is going to take some intentionality and effort on your part. And it's honestly, I'm just going to be straight up with you. It's going to take hard work. You're going to have to want it, and you're going to have to work for it. And improve on yourself and better yourself for it. One of the biggest things with being an entrepreneur is the self-development and self-growth journey that it takes you on. And, personally for myself, I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you guys today on mom life and business life and some of the transformations that I've been through and, the struggles that I've been through with that. And then I also have some questions and some input from you guys, because I've been talking about this a lot more on Instagram this year, and as of recently, within the last few days, on Threads. If you don't know what Threads is, because it's so brand new, it's a new Instagram app that's kind of like the Bird app with Twitter. Call it the Bird app. It's kind of like Twitter, but it's Instagram's version of it. And honestly, so far, I feel like it is such a great place to be having conversations. And I have seen more conversation about mom life as a business owner in the last, I don't know, when did it come out? Like Thursday. Today's Sunday as of I'm recording this. So in the last like 4 or so days than I have in like months. And I don't know if I just am not following the right pages on Instagram or people just aren't talking about it over there, but it's refreshing to see that a lot of us are going through the same things and having similar experiences, and just to know that like you're not alone in those things. Like someone posted on Threads the other night, like it's like 11:54, I don't know, p.m. at night, and I'm just now, it's work time, hashtag like mompreneur life. I don't know. It was something like that. It wasn't like word for word on that, but it was just like, man, that's so relatable. Like, because lately I've had to be like recording podcast episodes in the middle of the night, and no, that is not ideal, and no, that is not sustainable or something that's going to be a long-term thing for me, but it just is what it is for right now. I just have to do what I need to do to get that work done. So, it's refreshing to not feel alone in some of those struggles, because that does get hard sometimes for sure. So, I guess I'm just going to start out with just sharing some of the struggles that I've personally experienced as a mom in beauty business. And as I think back, I think one of the first experiences I really had with motherhood and being a beauty business owner was when the first time I ever got pregnant, which my heart just goes out to you if you've ever had any kind of similar experience with pregnancy loss in any way, shape, or form. But my very first pregnancy was an ectopic pregnancy. I think I've mentioned it here and there on the podcast before, but that was a very hard situation to go through. And I did not know what an ectopic pregnancy was before that. The whole concept was so new to me. But this was very shortly after I had quit the franchise lash studio that I was working for, and I had decided I wanted to go out on my own, and I had a non-compete, so I couldn't do lashes, but I wanted to go out on my own and start building a clientele for other aesthetic services, and then eventually add on lashes once my non-compete was done. And so these two things happened at the same time, and oh my gosh, it was so difficult. I just did not have the mental capacity to even try to build a clientele at that time like I was trying. And anyway, it was so difficult, and just that time in my life was so hard in many different aspects. And like that was my first like brush up or run in or whatever with being a mom and being a beauty business owner, and like going out solo for the first time. And like it was scary, it was hard, there was no support, no one was talking about how hard it actually is to be a beauty business owner, and like not even to mention how hard that is to navigate on top of being a mom or like going through pregnancy loss. Like I still consider that my first experience with motherhood, even though obviously that pregnancy did not result in a live birth. Like that was like, to me, that's still motherhood. And I'm not going to get too much into that situation with the nitty-gritty details on that, but if you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, it's basically the fertilized egg gets implanted in the wrong spot. For some, that can end in it bursting, and then you need emergency surgery for internal bleeding. For myself, the experience was they caught it early enough that they were able to do what's called medical management of it, where they give you a medication for it, and you have to go in like every week, once to twice a week, depending on how your levels are doing, to make sure that your levels are dropping back down to zero with the HCG levels. And so that was a very long and drawn out process of waiting for it to go down. And it was like so many needles, so many ultrasounds, so many hospital trips, just the whole experience. It was very drawn out. It took a while, and just trying to build a business for the very first time ever on top of that, like I said, I didn't have the mental capacity for it, and I wasn't the version of myself at the time that was really ready for that. And so that was a big struggle for me. And anyone who has gone through similar experiences in motherhood or similar losses, I'm sure you can attest to the fact that like that's so difficult when you are a business owner, and like it's hard to manage. And so, like I said, if you've been through any type of situation like that or loss like that, my heart really truly goes out to you, because I just have so much love for you, and I know how difficult that is. And no one talks about those things. I mean, pregnancy loss in general, people don't really talk about it that much, and especially in the space of business. So that is something I wanted to share with you guys today, because if that's you too, just know you're not alone. And then, when I eventually did get pregnant with a viable pregnancy, that was in the right spot. Hearing that heartbeat for the first time and like seeing it in the uterus in the right spot was like the best feeling in the whole world. And that it was in that moment that I was like so motivated to like keep growing my business, and like I wanted to do lashes so bad because I wanted to be able to be home with my kids, and that's always what I've known I wanted to do. I didn't ever know what I wanted to be when I grew up as a kid, because I just knew I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have a job that was going to be flexible with that. And, when I kind of ran into lashes, when it fell into my lap, I was like, oh, this would be a really good option, because I could pick my own schedule and work around my kids' schedules, and like it would be flexible in that way. And so even before I had kids, I was like planning and plotting for one day, right? And so when we found out that this pregnancy was going to be viable, I was basically just doing aesthetics and lashes part-time on the side, on top of like the 9-to-5 desk job that I had at the time. And I was like, this is my opportunity. Like, this is my time. I want to put everything I have into growing my business, because I really want to be home with my son. And so every waking minute that I had extra in that time of my life was spent listening to podcasts and learning more about marketing and learning more about growing a business, and like doing, all the continued education, and just really trying to soak in as much as I could and like utilize that time the best that I could to set myself up for success, to be able to do that and be home with my son. And I think that's something that I can look back on and say was very beneficial for me, is just like soaking in all the knowledge that you can and doing that continued education and investing in yourself in that way when you're able to. I know when you are a mom, sometimes that can be difficult, whether it's time-wise or finance-wise or things like that, but even just the free education, like soak up what you can, utilize the audiobooks, utilize the podcasts, those types of things, because really knowledge is power. That is your friend, and something that's going to help you be able to grow your business as a mom. And as I was saying earlier, it really is a big self-development journey. It is such a period of growth for you when you are an entrepreneur. I feel like you just grow as a person right alongside of it. And that really was my experience with growing my business, and also my experience in my motherhood journey. As I grew my business and I went through my own self-growth, I noticed the transformation for myself as a mom to continue to grow and get better. And, that does come with time and experience with being a mom. I've been a mom for 5 years, which in the grand scheme of things really is not that long of a time. But I do have 3 kids. So I have a little bit of experience under my belt. And I'm just going to speak from my own experiences too. You might have other experiences than I do, but, this is me, this is my story. And, I really feel like the self-growth I've experienced as an entrepreneur has helped me to be a better mom as well. And so to share a bit of that story with you, when my first son was born, that 0 to 1 transition was absolutely the hardest for me, like by far the most difficult. Everyone's like 2 to 3 is the hardest, and everyone had me so psyched, and I'm like overthinking when I had my third baby, and like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. And yes, it did come with its struggles. Of course, every time you have a baby, there's going to be hard parts. But that 0 to 1, in my opinion, was the hardest for me. And, everyone's going to have a different experience with that. But I struggled so much. My son came almost a month early. He was in the NICU we were trying to buy our first house at the time, and just, my mental health was just not in a good spot, and I didn't really recognize that at the time. Oh my gosh, it was just like, when I look back on it, I just want to give that version of me, that girl back then, I just want to give her the biggest hug. Like, I'm also so proud of her. And she just kept going, and she just kept trying and just pushed through it. But like, for me, something that helps me get through hard things is like telling myself, okay, like, you only have to do this X number more times. Like, if I'm working out, okay, you only have 6 more reps. You only have to do this 6 more times. Or like, if I'm in a class that's boring or hard or whatever, like, okay, you just have to, it's only 1 more hour, right? I'm just thinking, okay, you just have to do this or like when I went to go give birth, like, okay, like, yeah, it's gonna be hard, but maybe 24 hours max, or like 12 hours max for me typically. And then it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be good. Like, no biggie. But like, that's how I get through hard things. It's something that helps me mentally. And, that was the first time in my life I ever found myself realizing that, like, this is so hard. I remember I think in my closet. We had like a little walk-in closet in our like attic apartment rental at the time. And I just remember standing in this closet and thinking, like, this is so difficult. Like, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. I don't know, like, what I'm doing. Like, it was so hard. And that was the first time I ever found myself realizing that, like, I don't know when this is ever gonna end. Like, is this just my reality now? And, like, I can look back on that now and realize that, like, I probably should have been reaching out and asking for help. But at the time, I didn't. I didn't recognize it for what it was, and just kept pushing through. And, it did eventually get better, but it was hard for a long time. And, like, my mental health, it was so difficult. And, sometimes it was just hard to even get out of bed some days, and just, it was difficult. And I'm sure, because you are a mom, if you've listened this far, I'm assuming you are a mother, in some capacity, or maybe you want to be a mom one day. But like, if you have kids, you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. And just, I think one thing that really helped to pull me through that was lashes, honestly. It gave me something for me. It gave me something outside of my identity of being a mom, of being a wife, all these titles that I love and cherish, and that are just, I hold near and dear to my heart. But like, I still want to be me too, right? I still want to have that identity of myself. And I feel like for me, that's what lashes has done for me, has given me that thing outside of all these other roles that I play in life, and given me something that has allowed me to express my creativity, to make connections and friendships, to have adult conversations with other people outside of my husband. He is so great about that. But like, honestly, I've made some of my best friends with other lash artists and clients and different things. Like, there's so much that lashes has done for me as a mom and in my journey, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm sure some of you can relate in that way too, and just having that something for you outside of that. And I know some of you guys have shared that with me, and I absolutely love that. I think that there's so much beauty and joy that can be found within that experience as a mom, especially with making those connections and friendships throughout your journey. And so, I had my first son. I really struggled pretty badly with my mental health, but I ended up quitting my 9-to-5 job a few months after he was born. And I didn't really have the clients to back that up quite yet, but, I talked to my husband and we decided, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to work on growing my business. And I was really thankful for his support in that at the time. And so, quit my 9-to-5, stayed home with him, and just really went all out on like trying to grow my business. I was just doing lashes on the side at that point. And, my husband actually helped me make one of the rooms in our house a lash room, and that was pretty awesome. He literally tore down an entire wall to had to rebuild the wall, helped me paint it pink, redid the flooring. Oh my gosh, he was the biggest support, and I loved that lash room for my house. It was this little pink room. It brought me so much happiness in a time that was so difficult, and I made a lot of really great connections and friendships with my friends in there, or with my clients in there, and just laughing, and all the tears and different things and the stories being shared, and that's always a cherished memory for me, looking back on that little pink lash room of mine from home. And those were the days of, I didn't really have childcare at the time, and my son was pretty little still, so he'd hang out in his swing, or he'd play with his toys on the floor, or if my husband was home, or if I could get a babysitter, I would, but it wasn't always the case. So my clients were very gracious in letting me have my son be there with me. And I know that's kind of controversial in the industry, but that's my experience. That happened for me. I have had my kids with me at appointments sometimes, and it was just one of those situations where I just had to do what I needed to do, and it worked out fine, and it was okay. But I know I'm not alone in that one. I know there are others of you out there who have had your kids with you at appointments too. So just know you're not alone again. And so I started in this home studio lash room. And when we decided we were going to move, now this is part of my story that I talk about more often, because it was when I grew my clientele very quickly. And that's when we moved. I didn't know anyone. I rented out my little tiny room, and I didn't have any clients, and I built my clientele in less than 6 months. And I'm super proud of that, always. I will always be proud of that. But one thing that I recognize alongside of that was the improvement in my mental health and the growth of my business at the same time. And alongside of that, just kind of starting to come out of the fog of postpartum, which is crazy because my son was almost 2 at the time. He turned 2 in March of 2020, which was while I was built in that 6-month time frame of building my clientele there. And but as I look back on it, that's something that really sticks out to me, was just as my mental health got better, I was growing my clientele more, and I was becoming a better mom. Not that I was a bad mom ever, but just I feel like motherhood was getting a little less overwhelming for me, and was starting to kind of get the hang of things. And that's one of the things I really wanted to point out and talk about today, is just with the self-development. And I think that as we grow as a human being and go through that self-growth and improve on ourselves and work on ourselves, and look back on, really reflect on the things that our triggers and our bad habits and the things that are holding us back and our limiting beliefs and these different things about ourselves, and just really truly look at the hard parts of ourselves and improve on those things, that it can help us to be a better mom. It can help us to grow our businesses more. So I hope that if you take nothing else out of this episode, it's that you have to take care of yourself. You have to prioritize your mental health. You have to prioritize making sure that you're not putting yourself last every single time. I think that is 100% our default sometimes, because we do have so much on our plate that we just fall at the bottom of the list. We feel like we have to take care of everyone else first, our clients, our spouses, our friends, our family, our kids. And we have so much going on that it's just very easy to neglect our own needs and our own mental health. But I'm here to say that in my personal experience, the more that you're able to even prioritize yourself just a little bit, the better business owner you're going to be, and the better of a mom you're going to be able to be. because it's going to give you that mental capacity to take on the challenges of your day. It's going to give you the mental capacity to manage the different issues that you run into with entrepreneur life and with being a mom. And it's going to give you the patience, because when we are more able to regulate our emotions, when we're able to have that mental capacity to handle things, we're going to be able to be more patient with our kids. And for myself, that has resulted in a lot less yelling, a lot less of like snapping at them, things like that. Like when I'm able to manage those emotions, like there's a quote out there that talks about how, when we realize and recognize that the way that we're feeling personally that day or in that moment is how we respond to our kids versus how our kids are acting, then that's when we'll realize that keeping ourselves emotionally healthy is the most important thing that we can do for our kids. And I don't think it's like word for word on that. I can't remember exactly, but that's basically the gist of it. Making sure to take care of yourself, because when we get really snappy and impatient with our kids, it's because us ourselves, we are, sick of hearing them screaming and crying, I'm sure, but also, okay, did you get enough sleep? Have you drank water? Have you eaten for the day? Are you dealing with things? Like, how are you feeling? Because I know when I'm feeling better, I have better energy, I've gotten sleep the night before, like I've done, these different things, like I am much more patient with my kids versus when I'm like done for the day, I'm running low on energy, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm a lot more snappy, I'm a lot more impatient, like so on and so forth. So you're probably like, okay, well, how do I prioritize myself? Like, what does that actually look like? Because it's one thing for me to like sit here and say that, but like, what does that look like in day-to-day life? So I'm just going to share a few of the things that have really helped me in my self-growth journey, and just things that I've enjoyed and that have helped me kind of go through that transformation of going from struggling to get out of bed in the morning and just, kind of being in survival mode as a mom, to really enjoying motherhood and embracing the ups and downs of it, because that's a big difference, and there was a lot that happened in between there. But some of the biggest things that I think have helped me, first and foremost, just because, so therapy, I'll start off with that because it ties into another one of them. So I actually didn't go to formal therapy until this year. I started therapy like 2 or 3 weeks, I think about 3 weeks before my son was born this January 2023. I kind of been reading some things and, consuming content on social media, like therapy content that was helpful, and like starting to understand the process of like trauma healing and things. But like that, going to therapy was huge, and I know that is not something that is accessible to everybody, and for myself was not accessible for me for a long time. Like I knew for several years that I need to go to therapy one day, like at some point, but at the time it was not accessible to me until January. We were able to get on insurance that actually paid for it completely, which was the biggest blessing, because I was so excited and so thankful and so absolutely terrified to go to therapy. But it has helped me so much to heal the things of the past and heal the childhood trauma that I experienced, and to reframe things and look at things from a different perspective, and just be able to gain those mechanisms of coping, like healthy coping mechanisms and ways to navigate situations, and to do that for myself so that I can not only be a better me and enjoy life more, and just, not be bogged down by all the heaviness of the past and, the heaviness of those things, but also to do better for my kids, because I want to make their experience in life so much better. I think they just absolutely deserve the best, and I want to give that to them, and that is such a huge priority of mine. And I think that therapy honestly really helped me be able to do that. I was only able to go to therapy for a handful of months. When we moved out of state, I had to stop going. We switched insurances, and my therapist, anyway, the whole insurance thing, you guys know how that goes. But so I was able to go for about like 4 or 5 months, but even just that time frame was just so helpful. And, you know, one of the things that my therapist said to me at one point, she was like, Erica, like, because I was kind of talking about, you know, this transformation that I've gone through with motherhood and how I feel like my mental, like, this was like towards the end of working with her. And like, I was like, I feel like my mental health is at the best point it's ever been, which I was like, I'm so thankful for that. And, you know, like, I really feel good about things right now. And she's like, well, how do you feel like you got to this point? Like, to go from that one extreme to the other, basically. And that was kind of a hard question, because I'm like, well, shit, I don't know. But one of the things I did bring up was, yeah, well, like, you know, I have my business and I have my podcast, and, you know, I've been doing these things, and I was like, and alongside of that, I've done a lot of self-growth and self-development, and I really feel like that has benefited me as a person to heal myself more, and to grow as a person, and to be a better mom, and to enjoy motherhood at a higher and a deeper level. And so that was, you know, that was a realization that I had while going to therapy. Actually, that was the first time I realized that, hey, this self-growth I've had as growing my business has helped me in my motherhood as well. And so with that, you know, some of the things that I did, you know, I tried to read like self-development books. I think that they are very helpful, and they have really helped me along on my journey. I try to read one a month, but like, I'm not always super great about that. And I do audiobooks, because obviously as a mom, like, that is hard to find the time to just sit down and read sometimes. And if you like read on your Kindle or a physical book and you're a mom, like, I commend you for that, because I do not personally have the capacity for it currently. So I do audiobooks or podcasts. And both of those have been helpful for me to just stay on task more. If I'm listening to something, I stay on task better. But then also just to, like I said, knowledge is power. I mean, I talked about that earlier. Read things, listen to podcasts, read books, listen to audiobooks. Like, there's a lot of good information out there in books. There's a lot of good social media content, even about like self-growth and self-development. There's courses, there's therapy, there's a lot that you can do with that. But, you know, audiobooks has been really helpful for me. I've read a couple that are more specific to healing, like childhood trauma and things, and some of the more specific experiences that I've had with that. And, you know, there are books out there for that. So, you know, if that's something, you know, you're like, I can't afford therapy right now, can't get out there for it, like, there's a lot of books that are at lower price points, or sometimes you can rent them through like your library, your local library. I think there's even some like audiobooks from libraries that are free as well. So, you know, look into what resources you have out there for you, and just see what you can do. And there's really there's a lot of resources out there for us these days. And I think we're really fortunate in that aspect to have the internet and to have those resources at our fingertips and accessible at many different levels. But if you are able to go to therapy, I do recommend that personally. So yeah, audiobooks was helpful. Another thing, just looking at my habits. It's so hard, because you don't want to look at like the bad habits. You know, you have for me, a big one for me is like staying up late on my phone, and it's just, oh my gosh, you put that down and just go to sleep, right? And so working on your habits and upgrading your habits, kind of looking at, you know, what can I be doing better? And along with habits was the evolution of, you know, better routines and time management. And with all of that came better self-trust, which built on confidence. And, you know, this is something you're going to be hearing more about on I've at this point recorded like 3 or 4 guest episodes this past week. And so those episodes are going to get released after this one. So you're going to hear a little bit about these things, because it got brought up a few different times. And so you'll hear about a bits and pieces of this. But, you know, just that self-trust does compound. Like, when you follow through on what you say you're going to do. And I think that was something that helped me too. was just getting to know myself better in the sense of I do what I say I'm going to do. And then also just something even just little small as like waking up before my kids in the morning. Like when I wake up, if I don't wake up before them and I'm waking up in the hecticness of screaming and crying and all, oh my gosh, you know how it is. And like, it just starts my day off on such a better foot to get up a little bit earlier than them, even if it's like 10-15 minutes to start out with. Like, give yourself a few minutes to just start the day off quietly, you know, get your coffee, journal, or stretch, or whatever. Like, I don't even care what you do, just getting up before them is so helpful. Just start that day off on a good note, on a good foot, on a quiet one. Quiet being the key word there. And just, you know, taking that time for yourself. And some people have like crazy long morning routines, and I think as a mom that like is not necessarily attainable, especially at first. So if that's something you don't have already, like, start small. Even if you just wake up, what I started doing, I would wake up and stretch. Just wake up and stretch in the morning. And then after a while I was like, oh, I'm gonna write down some things I'm grateful for. I'm going to write some journal entries. And then it turned into like going to the gym in the morning, and like I kind of built on that. And so that's how I got started with my morning routine, was just something really easy and small like that. But I think it's so easy to fall into comparison on that sometimes, because we do see so many others in the beauty industry who are not moms, which not bashing on them at all, but you know, I think it's difficult sometimes, and I've heard this from some of you too, where it's like you see them doing their like long morning routines, and they're exercising, and they're doing like these long nighttime routines and big long, you know, 20-step skincare their 20-step skincare routine and so on and so forth. And it's so hard to compare yourself to that sometimes, because you're like, I do not have the time or the energy or the capacity to do that right now. And you're just like in the thick of motherhood, and some days just like fighting just to get to the end of the day and keep your sanity. And I know I've fallen into that comparison sometimes too. And so that would just be another thing I would say to help on like your self-development journey and such too, is just learning to just be self-aware and recognize things for what they are. Because like comparing yourself to someone who is not a mom in our industry, which I've heard from several of you that I'm not the only one who's done that before, that comparison does happen a lot. And you know, like, they're not moms and they don't have the same responsibility load as you do, and like it is very unfair for yourself, and I'm saying this to myself too, but like it's very unfair of us to compare ourselves to them, because they aren't moms. They're in a different spot, they're in a different journey. Like, I know we hear this often, but it's just like I think if you catch yourself in that comparison, just keep reminding yourself of that. And you know, being self-aware in that sense is something that's helpful for me too. Just, okay, like, I'm catching myself comparing myself to this person who's not a mom in the industry, and like feeling pressure to be as quote unquote successful as them, or as like productive as them, or whatever it might be. And it's just like, Erica, or you know, you're just, hold up, like, stop yourself in that thought and remember that like you have 3 kids, like, and just like give yourself a pat on the back. Like, you would not, like, speak kindly to yourself, because you would not speak negatively to other people. So don't do that to yourself too, okay? Just and I know that's easier said than done. I am like the queen of being self-critical, but like, don't be negative and critical to yourself. You are doing such a good job. And I personally, and this is no hard feelings or anything towards people in the industry who are not moms, but I 100% believe that it is much more difficult to grow your business as a mom, because you do have so much more on your plate. Like, it adds those levels of complexity, and I just think it is harder. It is, honestly. And you are doing such a great job, and I think that you just got to give yourself more credit than you are. You got to give yourself a pat on the back. And you know, along with that, kind of jumping into some of the struggles and questions that you guys shared with me, one of them was mom guilt. And I know we feel this. We all do it. We lay down at the end of the night like, oh my gosh, I could have done this better. I could have done this differently. I feel so bad for yelling at my kids. I feel so bad for getting impatient. I didn't put my phone down enough. I'm going to spend more time with them tomorrow. I'm going to do this better tomorrow. Like, we all have felt that before. And one of the things I wanted to point out here, and this comes from one of my very favorite TV shows ever called This Is Us. If you have not watched it, if you decide to watch it, just like go ahead and buy yourself some stock and Kleenex because you will cry. But one of the things that in one of the episodes was they talked about, and I don't remember exactly how it was phrased, but just basically that the day can always be remembered for something different. Like, while we might remember a day because we just felt overstimulated and overwhelmed and crazy and kids are being wild and like you had so much going on, you were so busy, whatever it might be, like we might remember it for that, but like our kids are gonna remember it as, oh my gosh, we got to go to my favorite lunch place and go to the park with my mom, and like, you know, I got to, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I fed them chicken nuggets for dinner. I'm such a bad mom. Like, I need to feed them better tomorrow. And they're like, they're thinking, I got to have my favorite meal, you know, like the kids see it so differently. And, you know, from that show, This Is Us, they were saying, you know, the day can always be remembered for something differently. So even if something does go poorly or wrong or hard or whatever it is, like, there can always be something else that happens in the day that's good that the day can be remembered for. So I try and remember that on the hard days, because I think I get so down and hard on myself because I do really want to be a good mom, that I have to remember that like my kids, my son, especially my oldest, he's always like, this was the best day ever. Like, this is going to be the biggest day ever. Like, he gets so excited and so pumped. And like, he's always telling me like, Mom, I love you all day. And like, you got to give yourself more credit. I know it's easy to feel guilty, and especially when you're working and you want to be with your kids, but then when you're with your kids, you wish you were working. But just, you know, give yourself some grace, give yourself more credit, because you are doing the hardest and most sacred work in the world to be raising your kids and building a business and like creating that better life for them. And just the fact that you are willing to put in that work and that effort to better yourself and to try and be a good mom, and the fact that you're worried about being a good mom, like that, you are already doing so much better than so many out there. And not that anyone's like better than anybody else, but just like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people out there who just don't care. They don't put in the effort. They aren't willing to better themselves for their kids. And I can say that because I do have a parent like that. You know, my mom was great, but honestly, like, I'm not trying to just like call him out on this right here, but kind of like my dad was just never there. Like, he wasn't, and chose not to be there. And, you know, there are parents out there that do that. They choose to not be there. They choose to not work on themselves. They just continue to fall into the same patterns of before. And like, we as parents now have the opportunity to sit down and choose to do better. And even if you slip up or you have a hard day or whatever, like, you can choose to you can choose to try again. Like, that is the option that you have in front of you. And that's what I hope that you will do, is just to keep trying no matter what. And for myself, this comes in the form of apologizing to my kids when I mess up, when I am not the best or not the greatest, you know, if I like get impatient with them or whatever it is. Like we have that opportunity now to do better for our kids, to be better for them, to work on ourselves. And I think that that is an experience that we can live out through growing our businesses. And so, yeah, like, I wasn't planning on like sharing a couple of those details with you, but just honestly, it is what it is. That's my story. That's where I come from. That's the decisions that were made. And at this point, it just is what it is. And so, you know, that's a reason why, like, being there with my kids and being present with them and like wanting to make their worlds the best it can be, like, that's a big motivation why, because that's not always what I had from that parent growing up of mine. And Like, I want to be there for my kids, and, you know, running my business and being a beauty business owner, being a lash artist, being a lash educator, being a lash coach, a podcaster, whatever, like, that's the vehicle that is helping me get there, and that is the end goal. And, you know, when business gets hard, and I know it does for all of us, because business is hard, motherhood is hard, when business is hard and you sit down and you think, well, maybe I should just quit, maybe I should just go get a 9-to-5, maybe I should just go find a different job. At the end of the day, the thing that always keeps me going when I find myself in those types of situations where things are just difficult and it's like, well, do I throw in the towel or not? The thing that pulls me through is the fact that, like, this whole thing, this is all, for me, my biggest why is my kids. 100%. These end possibilities I can make for them, the life we can create for our kids because of being a beauty business owner is not, I mean, at least for me, a 9-to-5 is not going to get me there. So I really think it, you know, the hard days like this, really anchoring into your why with your kids and things can be something that really does pull you through those hard times and those difficulties. And so, you know, when you're feeling the mom guilt, when you're feeling, you know, oh, this is just too much, this is overwhelming, like, sit down and just write it out. Like, what's your why? Why do you do this? What's the end result you can get from it? Is that worth the difficulties that you're facing right now to get that in return? And at some points you might find that it's not, and that's okay. Like, there's no shame in having to go get a part-time job or a 9-to-5 or whatever. Like, you need to do what you need to do for you and for your kids, but just keep that in mind, because I know for myself that that's what's continued to pull me through time and time again when life and business and motherhood get difficult. So yeah, I kind of feel like I'm just, like, all over the place with this episode. So I hope, like, honestly, I kind of have a little bit of an outline, but I just want to speak from the heart on this. So I hope that all these thoughts are, like, stringing themselves together coherently for you. But yeah, so a couple other questions and, you know, thoughts and things from you guys that you shared with me. So let me pull up. So I put a thread. I don't know what these are called, because on Twitter they're called tweets, but on threads, are they called thread? Like a thread? I don't know, and that doesn't really matter, but I asked what your biggest struggle with being a mom and a business owner, what's got you stuck. I'm talking about this on the podcast. Let's give you a shout out, submit some questions. So, Lovesick by Ty, so Kenzie, she said, which, by the way, shout out to you, Kenzie. Thanks for sharing. She said, navigating the holidays and scheduling. My daughter's birthday is right before Christmas. I usually need the money from being busy, but always end up burnt out by New Year's. So yeah, the holiday season is one of the busiest times for us as lash artists. Everyone wants to get in to get their lashes for the holidays. They want to look good. They want to feel good. It can be, like, literally insane time, especially because everyone's schedules are crazy and just scheduling things and all the holiday festivities and things. And so I think my advice here would just to be proactive on this. And especially with your daughter's birthday, like, I 100% think, like, for myself at least, I don't know about anyone else, but for myself, I absolutely will never miss one of my kids' birthdays. And that ties back into what I was telling you a little bit earlier with that particular parent of mine that was never there. Like, I was the kid that just, like, wished their parent would just, like, surprise and show up on their birthday. And it just never happened. But, you know, anyway, that is giving me motivation to always want to be there for my kid's birthday. So I love, first off, Kenzie, that you are, you know, prioritizing that, and just, you know, if you're working on scheduling and your daughter's birthday and Christmas, and, like, you're trying it. I think that you just, first off, got to give yourself a big old pat on the back, because you are a damn good mom for prioritizing that. And so with that, just being proactive, looking ahead on your schedule. And I personally would set up your schedule, like your holiday schedule, 2 or 3 months in advance if you can. You know, maybe towards the end of fall, especially as you get into, like, Thanksgiving and Christmas, like, get your work schedule set up and you communicate directly with your clients. Hey, this is my holiday schedule. These are the only hours I'm going to be working. If you want to get in on my schedule, like, book here. If you need to, do your price raise for the year right before that. And then also, like, if you're going to squeeze in clients and, like, take clients outside of those hours, like, charge an after hours fee. Like, that's not something that I have typically done with clients in the past, but, like, in a busy time like that, when you are trying to prioritize being with your kids, but, like, you need the money, so on and so forth, like, I think that their after hours fee is a great way to make sure that, like, clients are pre-scheduling and trying to get on your books when they normally, during your normal hours. But also, like, if you're going to go in and take time away from your family during that time of year and be crazy busy, like, take that after hours fee, girl. So yeah, that's what I would say. Be proactive on it. Set your holiday hours and schedule ahead of time, like, I'm going to have this event on this day, so I'm not going to work that day, or whatever it is. I'm going to take this day off for my kid's birthday. That's me. I always take my kids' birthdays off. I always try and, like, go all big and out for it. But yeah, get that schedule set up ahead of time. Communicate with clients. I think that is the best thing you can do. Just communicate. Have them pre-book. Raise your prices ahead of time if you need to. If you feel like that's an appropriate thing to do for your business at that time. And charge that after hours fee. You're gonna take people outside those hours. Like, that's not your normal hours, so have them pay. But yeah, that's what I would say, because it does get crazy and busy. And I think, with burnout, some things that have helped me too, just making sure to prioritize drinking water, taking appropriate lunch breaks. I would recommend scheduling your lunch break into your recurring schedule, so that clients can't even book during that. You always have a lunch break scheduled out. If you need to take breaks in between clients, do what you need to do. Just to make sure you're taken care of, because that can be a crazy and a busy time as a lash artist for sure. So just make sure not to put yourself at the last. Like, I know clients want to get in and they want to be prioritized, but don't put yourself last all the time, okay? You still have to take care of yourself, and we're going to be talking about that on another episode that's coming up in a couple of weeks here with my friend Janessa. We're going to be talking about, health as a beauty or as a lash artist, and things like that. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. The next question that was submitted, trying to find, Hattie. So Hattie Studio M on Threads. She said, finding balance. I don't want to miss out on my clients or my child, obviously, LOL, because she will never be so small again, but also this is my job. I have to work to make money. And girl, yes, I believe that so fully, that, like, our kids will never be small again. Like, we can always make more money, but we're never going to be at our kid's second birthday again, or we're never going to be at our 5-year-old's t-ball game again, like that. My son just got done with his t-ball season, so that's, like, a personal one for me, but, like, little things like that. But obviously we do still have to make money, and especially for our kids, to pay the bills and all those things. And so what I would say for this, and what I did for this, was I always created my schedule around my kids. And sometimes that meant changing my schedule a couple different times a year. And I just did what I needed to do, and worked at building a clientele who was understanding of that, whether they were moms or grandmas or whatever it was. But just, I always created my schedule around my kids. And also, if being there with your daughter or your kids is something that is important to you and you want to be present with them, like, again, work on yourself, work on your habits, work on your routines, work on your time management. Those are things that have all really helped me to not just be with my kids, but also be present with them, because I have everything else done that I need to get done. And also, like, if something is important to you, schedule that shit on your calendar. Like, put it on the schedule, because if it's something that you want to happen and not fall through the cracks, like, you've got to put it on there. And so for me, that even comes in the form of play a game with the kids today, putting that on my schedule, or take the kids to the park today. And I know maybe that sounds bad to some people, because it's like, well, why do you have to schedule playing a game with your kids on your schedule? But, like, that's how I found works best for me. That's how I manage it the best. That's how, like, my mom brain at this point, if I don't write something down, I'll probably forget. So I have reminders in my phone for literally everything. I have notes in my phone. I have alarms I have to set for things. Like, that's just how I know I operate the best. So I have no shame in that. I just do what I need to do. But, like, schedule out time to spend with your kids, to spend with your daughter. And, so you have your work schedule and you have that time scheduled to spend with your kids. And that's for me how I don't think there's ever really a full balance, because sometimes you're going to be busier or more focused on your clients or your work with your business. And then there's other times where you're going to be more focused on making memories with your kids and being there with them and, doing those things. Like, I think it's kind of like an ebb and a flow. And in that ebb and a flow, it's finding grace for yourself in the moment, in the time. And like I said, remembering that even if, you have to go to work, but you come home and you're able to go hang out with your kids and take them to the park or watch a movie with them and eat popcorn. Like, I think with our kids, it's a lot of things. It's just the little things. A lot of times it's the little things. It's like, okay, I got to watch a movie with my mom today. I got to paint my nails with my mom today. Like, my daughter is really into, like, makeup right now. She's 2 and she just absolutely loves it. She thinks it's the most fun thing ever. It's like, anytime I can even just sit down with her for 10-15 minutes and we play makeup together for a little while, like, that makes her entire day, and that's what she talks about for the rest of the day. And so it's just, I think sometimes we think it has to be these grand big things with our kids, and it doesn't. Like, it can be the small things too. So, like, don't be hard on yourself when you have to go into work and make money and be with your clients. Like, you were doing that so that the time that you do get with your kids is that much more intentional, and you'll be able to be that much more present with your kids when you are with them. And again, for me, I made my schedule around my kids. Like, when my daughter was young, I would make it around my breastfeeding schedule and, like, take clients, go feed her, come back and take clients, that kind of thing. So that would be my advice for that. And just know that it's going to be hard sometimes. And again, just find it in yourself to give yourself some grace to try again tomorrow. One of my big things when I have a hard mom day or a hard day with work or lashes or whatever it is, like I will let myself feel those feelings, because I think it's important to honor and feel feelings and not just try and stuff them away and act like it doesn't matter or act like it's just going to go away, because it doesn't. It just builds. So feel those feelings. Let yourself feel sad about it or feel upset about it or feel angry or feel like, oh my gosh, this sucks, because it does. Like, let yourself feel those things for the night and wake up again the next day ready to try again. Like, my motto for a long time has always been, like, tomorrow is a new day. I tell myself that so many times a day, some days that when they're difficult ones, and just tomorrow is a new day. It's another chance to try again, and I can have a different experience tomorrow than I did today. And I try, if it's a hard mom day or a hard day with lashes or whatever, just those types of days, I try not to let that bleed into the next day, and I try not to let that carry over if I'm able to, and just wake up refreshed and ready to try again. Especially with our kids, because, they really look up to us and our example on how we lead ourselves in those moments and on those hard days. And if we want to have them be able to, and capable of managing their emotions and handling difficulties in life, and it's, they're looking to us for that example. They're going to learn from us on that, for better or for worse. I think there's sometimes when my kids get upset or mad or whatever, and the way they handle things, and I'm just, like, kicking myself, because I'm like, they act the same way that I do. And that almost is a self-reflection of me, in the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I need to work on that. I could do better in that area, because I'm like, I can see the what they're learning from me, and sometimes. And so yeah, that's what I would say. And then let's see, the next one. So Gigi Lash, Miss Karen, she said, I've learned to prioritize motherhood. My work schedule has always and will always revolve around my kids, school, soccer, and dance schedules. And I really love that. And I think that Karen does such a good job of that. I've met her on Instagram. We used to live in the same town, and I think we actually met at Lash Biz, Utah for the first time. So yeah, she's awesome and really does a great job with that. And so, yep, that's what I would say too. Prioritize motherhood, prioritize your kids, because they are only little ones. You only have one chance to raise them. And that's in my opinion, the most important work that we can do as a parent, is to prioritize them and make them, help them to be successful and set those good examples for them. So last one I got was from, it doesn't have her name on here, but it's Embellish EBL on Threads. She said, my struggle is all mental, I'm sure. Clients want to be a priority, but reality is my family and myself come first. And yes, I agree with that. I think our families and ourselves should come first. And sometimes that's going to look like you gotta do what you need to do to work and make the money for your family. But also learn when to work and when to rest, and still take that time for you and your family, because we didn't get into being a business owner to just work and slave our lives away 24/7. Like the all the time grind is canceled, in my opinion. And I would really encourage working to build a clientele that is understanding of you being a mom and is flexible with that. And it's kind of an ebb and flow with clients sometimes. Like, you want them to be understanding of the fact that like your kids are sick and things. So like I try to show them that same grace in return personally. And I feel like that helped me to develop like good connections with my mom clients that way. It's like, okay, yeah, your kid's sick. I totally get that. Like, let's get you rescheduled. I won't charge you the fee today. And that's kind of like a situational thing for me, at least, was situation, or how is that phrased, case by case basis, and also was something I did for like my good clients who are normally really like picture perfect type of clients, or like like they show me that respect, they show me that grace, they like they are not someone who does that all of the time. But I think that's something that helped too, if I was understanding of them in that situation, they were understanding for me in that situation too. But yeah, your family comes first, always. Like, I am very much so a family first kind of, business owner. In a way, you can ask like my students, or like my girls that I had in my studio with me, the lash artists that worked with me in my studio. Like, I was always saying that family first, 100%, always and forever, family first. So, those are my thoughts for this episode. Like I said, I feel like I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, because 2 of my sisters have been diagnosed in the last year, and I have similar struggles as them. And so I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. However, I hope this episode made sense. I feel like I was just bouncing all over the place a little bit, but maybe that's just a me thing, like overthinking it. But yeah, I wanted to share some of my struggles. I wanted to share some of my experiences with motherhood and business. I wanted to answer some of your guys' questions. I want this to be more of a conversation in our industry, and I think that this is going to be something that we'll continue to talk about. Like I said, the next few episodes, I think all of them are moms, and I did ask all of them about it. So yeah, we're gonna keep the conversation rolling. So stick around, share with your mom friends in the industry. And yeah, if you're a mom, I'm cheering you on. I am so supportive of you, and if there's anything I can do to help support you in your journey as a mom beauty business owner, please feel free to reach out and let me know. Or if you have any comments or anything that really stood out with you or stood out for you in today's episode, feel free to reach out on Instagram at XOEricShram, and let's talk about it, or talk about it on Threads too. You can reach out to me there. I love talking about this topic. I love talking about my kids. I Love talking about motherhood and business and all the things. That's my jam. So I hope you have a wonderful week. There will be another episode out here in a few days. It'll be a guest episode, so I'm excited to share that with you soon. And we've got guest episodes all lined up for the next few weeks, so get excited for that. Also, I will be at LashCon in October. I've talked about it a couple times in the past couple podcasts, but in case you've missed that, I will be at LashCon in October. And we're going to do a Lash Biz Babes meetup, so I'm really excited for that. I've got a potential caterer in mind for this, so I really just need to get a head count at this point. If you are interested in coming to the Lash Biz Babes meetup for the brunch, let me know, reach out to me, so I can make sure to have you on my list. That doesn't mean that you have to show up and go if you're on my list. I just need a rough estimate so I can get all the details and things worked out. So thank you for listening. Make sure to hit subscribe. And also, if Lash Biz Babes has helped you, if you love listening to the podcast, please leave a review for me, for the show, wherever you listen to podcasts at. I would very much appreciate it. And we'll see you here again in a few days.